Dan Ashworth looks like he's going to be Manchester United's new sporting director, but what does he actually do which will benefit United? He has spoken all about his role and one particular myth about sporting directors that maybe a lot of fans think, and we're going to be going through that all today. Now, as of recording this on Friday afternoon, the 16th of February, it's looking ever more likely that an agreement is going to be reached between the clubs for Ashworth to move across to Old Trafford. By the time this video comes out, there may have already been an official agreement, and that will be amazing news for Manchester United, who have been lacking a sporting director for God knows how long. But what is a sporting director? Ashworth was previously a technical director at Brighton, where he made his name for a lot of people who now consider Brighton as one of the best run clubs in the Premier League. He was previously at the FA in an advanced role where he helped that kind of transition into the New England, where we've seen improvements, not enough to win silverware yet, but he was in that role between 2012 and 2018 where those kind of placeholders throughout the system were set. And of course, his short time at Newcastle, he's already done some very impressive stuff there. I think they elevated more than most could have expected, and a lot of that would have been down to the role that Ashworth had in their system. But what is that role? A lot of us don't know. A lot of people are excited, but they're not entirely sure what he will bring. They're listening to the expert opinions, and that's completely fine. But this interview from Ashworth when he first moved to Newcastle explains the role perfectly and what he'll bring to United perfectly. But it also kind of dispels a myth that a lot of people have kind of spoken about with Ashworth and the importance of his kind of role in player transfers for the first team. Now, there have been reports which state that Ashworth is tremendous in that kind of role, and a lot of his focus is going to be on that. And whilst in this following clip he does admit that, he does also say about the importance of the wider kind of project which he will be in charge of at Old Trafford, and is, and potentially was, in charge of at Newcastle.
People think the job of sporting director is all about recruitment, and it's all about recruitment for the men's first team. It isn't. That's a big part of it, of course, but it's about all of the other things I've just mentioned there, and just trying to get everybody working together from a technical point of view.
So the sporting director, the Dan Ashworth, they will have that kind of influence on player transfers. He's got a track record. He is part of those deals that Brighton made, that Newcastle made, which United fans probably are jealous of, those kind of smart, savvy kind of transfers. He was part of those, but that isn't just his role. Ashworth, which he'll go on to explain in this next clip, he has a much wider role, which is something that will put pieces together for United, which they've been missing for far too long.
But from a sporting director context, very similar to my role as technical director at my previous employment, is really, I always describe it as sitting in the middle of the wheel. So my job is to sit in the middle of the wheel and just connect via the spokes, if you like, the different departments of the club, and just trying to align everything as best I possibly can. So of course there's Eddie from a men's first team point of view, there's Shola, who I met this morning from Prayer Alone, Steve Harper I'm meeting on Thursday from an academy perspective, Steve Nixon, the doc from a medical point of view, just to try and make sure that we've got a cohesive way of working. We can pull all our resources together, have one plan to try and support the needs of the football club going forward.
Sitting in the middle of the wheel, Ashworth will have a major influence on those kind of player transfers for the first team, but he will also be kind of juggling the different aspects of a football club. And if we're to believe recent reports as well, it's stated that Ashworth's going to have more power at United than he did at Newcastle, which suggests that, again, he's going to be balancing these different things, which sounds like a really difficult job, but one that he's an expert in, one of the best, and something that United just haven't had enough of, that kind of connecting throughout the club. There's major examples in recent years. First of all, the women's team, the kind of disconnect that there was with the women's team. I think we all kind of remember those reports a couple of years back where the kind of facilities that they were changing in, training in, it just wasn't good enough, it wasn't linked to the rest of the club, and that is probably one of the major reasons that Casey Stoney actually left United as manager a couple of years back. So that's just one of the examples. You look And you see the amount of failed loans that United have had, where you think that if there was a more cohesion between maybe the first team, the academy, the loan system, you see that Ashworth will be the man, and maybe one of few men putting those kind of links together within the club, ensuring those links between the medical department and the first team. You've seen Tyrell Malacia, he's out for a very long time, and reportedly that first surgery that he got on his knee was a personal, he done it out of club, and it seemed like it didn't work out. And that's just another small thing where it doesn't seem like there's complete alignment in the club. And these sort of people, the Dan Ashworths of this world, the people who are very good at linking those different parts of the club, are very important of building that kind of culture, that togetherness within a club, to make sure things don't slip through the cracks of different areas. Now, of course, like I said, Ashworth is going to be one man out of many, it seems, with reports of different kind of additions. There's looking like it's going to be a head of recruitment alongside him, maybe to focus more on that recruitment with Ashworth building the overall structure. And then you also have the Southampton director of football, Jason Wilcox, who also worked alongside Omar Barada at Manchester City, where he was academy director. That's another person who could come into the fold in a role kind of underneath Ashworth, working probably on similar aims. But there's a team building. Of course, Barada's at the top as the CEO. You've got Ratcliffe, Jean-Claude Blanc, and Dave Brailsford above those in kind of the senior roles. But there's a lot of people coming into the club, and it's an exciting time. We'll of course see if Ashworth gets over the line. We saw Eddie Howe's comments this afternoon where he kind of gave a bit more hope to the United fans that it seems like it's going to happen. He's going to bring a lot more than just player recruitment, and there's an excitement amongst Manchester United fans who think this could be a beginning of a good change at Old Trafford. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like. If you're new to the channel, we'd love it if you could subscribe, and let us know in the comments below what your opinions are on these changes which seem to be being made at Old Trafford under INEOS so far. And that's all from me. We'll see you in the next one.